City Mayor Bill de Blasio cracking down on the unvaccinated. So here's what he's doing. He's requiring city workers to get the COVID vaccine or get tested every week. And if they don't, they will be out of work. And he wants private businesses to follow his lead.
So what exactly are workers' rights here, right? That's the question that we're trying to help understand. So let's turn to New York employment law attorney Jonathan Bell, who joins us now live. So thank you for being here, Jonathan. Good to see you this morning.
Sure. Good morning to both of you.
So I think a lot of people are trying to navigate this about workers' rights, employers' rights. The big question here with the vaccine mandate, is the mayor within his legal rights?
Absolutely. Just like private and public sector employment, employees generally are at will. They could be fired for any reason. So with that, employers have great leeway to make these types of policies. People think that employees have a lot more rights than they do when it comes to starting a lawsuit against their employer. And really, unless it's somehow protected based on race, age, religion, gender, disability, and some other limited protections, there's no lawsuit. The unvaccinated is not a protected class recognized under the law.
Right.
Well, you know, there are courts and Federal Equal Employment Opportunity Commission rulings, in fact, that support what the city wants to do, right? So he's got the backing. It's not like he's out here on his own with this indication of what he thinks businesses should do.
He's actually not going as far as he can go. I mean, realistically, he's not saying get vaccinated or you're fired. He's saying if you're unvaccinated, you have to have weekly testings, and indoors you have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Now, that might cause a problem for some individuals with the Americans with Disabilities Act. They may have a right to bring a claim if they could show that they're entitled to a reasonable accommodation based on their disability. They can't get vaccinated, they can't wear a mask. But outside some very limited circumstances, Mayor de Blasio is well within his rights. The other thing he has to worry about is the union. There's always collective bargaining agreements around union employees. That goes for the same for private sector who deals with the union. He has to technically go and bargain. But if he does that, I think the union is going to concede and just go over things such as do the employees get paid when they go for testing, who pays for the test, and things of that nature.
Yeah, and some of the unions have come out.
This is going to pass.
Some of the unions have come out already and said, hey, we'll go along with what you're saying, but we do want to head to the bargaining table first. You know, this is 340,000 city workers that we're talking about, and some will be adamant about not getting the vaccination. So are there exceptions? I'm listening to what you're talking about when you say race, religion, and so on and so forth. But if they simply just don't want to get it, right, and they're saying, I'll go to work and I'll get tested, that's okay?
That's fine, and that's fine under what de Blasio is saying as well. Understand the private sector, they could actually implement that, or they could say, you're fired if you don't get vaccinated. So, but the answer to your question is that's fine. They can go to work, they can get tested, they can wear masks, and according to what the law is right now, or the policy is, understand de Blasio could change it at any time. If COVID continues to get out of control and is coming back, he might turn around and say, you know what, if you're not vaccinated, don't come to work.
It's fine, technically, but is there the fear that if someone says, look, I don't want to get vaccinated and I'm going to go through this testing, that a company can look at that as someone that is a bit insubordinate, if you will, because if that's what they want them to do and that's not what they're doing, even though it's legal, that could, I guess, leave them with a bit of a bad rep, if you will?
It can, you know, like I said earlier, we're basically at-will employees. So based upon that, we can be terminated. We don't need a reason technically to terminate somebody. Unless you're under a contract. Some employees are under a contract and maybe it's not so easy. But the majority of us are at will, and we could use whatever information we want as long as it's not illegal, like what we stated before, to terminate somebody.
Wait, just so I'm clear here, because I think what some private companies might be doing now is looking at what the city's doing, right? So if the city's mandating vaccines for 340,000 employees, can a private company also say the same thing? Say, hey, get vaccinated if you don't get tested, and if you don't get tested, we're not paying you.
100% yes. With limited exception, like I said before, with the Americans with Disabilities Act.
So same rules apply to a private company.
Yeah, New York City and New York State has their own laws covering people with disabilities. So if you get some medical evidence that for some reason you can't get vaccinated or you can't wear a mask in the workplace, there may have to be a reasonable accommodation. But the general rule is that the employer does have this right to pass this policy.
So it's really a slippery slope here, right? Basically, what we're hearing is, look, you either get vaccinated or you can truly risk losing your job.
Absolutely, 100% correct.
All right, Jonathan Bell, these are new waters I think everybody from employers to employees are navigating. We appreciate you helping us get through some of it this morning.
Anytime. Thanks for having me on.
All right.
Absolutely.